Hello, my name's Margaret Collins, and I'd love to welcome you to my short series on women in leadership and imposter syndrome. I'm particularly talking to you today if you are a woman in leadership or aspiring to leadership, particularly in a university environment. You might be a researcher, a postdoc or a PhD student. You may be an academic, a lecturer, or maybe even more senior than that. You might be a woman in professional services. I'm really wanting to talk to you if you are either in a position of leadership, maybe managing a team or a group, or aspire to a position of leadership. It might be at the moment that you're maybe towards the bottom of the career ladder looking upwards and wanting to establish yourself, but you realise that maybe you feel slightly more anxious and insecure than you would like to be. It's entirely possible that you are affected by feelings of imposter syndrome. I say this because surveys show that a majority of people, men and women, are affected by imposter syndrome feelings. Now, you might know exactly what imposter syndrome is. I want to reassure you that it's not a medically diagnosable condition, but that it is something that's very common, particularly in an academic or a university environment. People are often affected by feelings of not being good enough, of feelings of they've been very lucky, or that people have been kind to them and have helped them. Sometimes they even feel that I'm making it up. I'm not quite sure how I am doing what I'm doing, but one day soon someone is going to figure out that perhaps I don't belong here. That feeling of being a fraud is sometimes referred to as imposter syndrome feelings. Why does this matter? It matters because people who experience imposter syndrome feelings, and particularly women, will hold themselves back. They don't share creative ideas. They don't make suggestions that could be helpful in case they turn out to be wrong or maybe not so creative. People will often hold themselves back from making a contribution, from volunteering for positions of leadership. How do I know about this? Well, my background is as an academic and a researcher, and for many years I led teams of researchers. I also felt quite consistently throughout that period feelings of imposter syndrome. However, for many years I didn't recognise it or know that this collection of feelings had a name. Some time ago I trained as a coach. When I trained as a coach, I first learned professionally about the imposter syndrome and what it meant, where it came from, and most importantly for you, how to manage it. And so when I reflect on the early stages of my career, there would have been many times that I felt that criticisms of my grants or my papers, although I knew logically that they were entirely rational and reasonable, they felt particularly personal to me, and I was sure that because I had to review my contributions, it probably meant I wasn't good enough. There were many times in meetings that I thought I had something to say, but I didn't have the confidence to share. I held myself back, I kept myself quiet, and didn't volunteer when people called for people to step into positions of leadership. It was all the more painful when I realised that sometimes people who did volunteer and step up didn't do as good a job as I knew I could have done, but I hadn't had the confidence to step forward. I realised that this holding myself back was actually not doing me or my career or my team any good at all. And so I learned that it is possible to move beyond imposter syndrome, and actually wrote a book of that title. I have learned that it is possible to manage the inner critic, the voice that tells me I'm not good enough. And I can actually use that now to my advantage to understand the things that are important to me and the things that I do well. I now know that people who often experience imposter syndrome feelings also may feel different to their peers. They might share a visible difference, or it might be an invisible difference. And we think that that means we're not good enough. But the truth is that this difference is often a superpower that allows us to make especially valuable contributions to the divergent teams that we work in, because all the research evidence is showing that teams that are more diverse are more successful and make better contributions, and in fact in business are also more profitable. Women in leadership are also often subject to unconscious or implicit bias, and we need to address this and find ways to move beyond it if we are to make our contribution to our teams. I'd like to invite you to sign up for my online webinar, which is completely free of charge. It addresses women in leadership, imposter syndrome, its sources and its solutions. You can sign up on my website at margaretcollins.com/willweb. That is margaretcollins.com/WILWEB. I look forward to seeing you on the seminar. Thank you very much. Bye-bye.